Our presenters today are Jim McClellan and Brian Angelic, who are Directors of Leadership for CASS, with a focus on wellness. And Jim and Brian both have very extensive, very storied, very successful careers in the field of education in a variety of different positions, including Chief Superintendent. They've been working for the last little while on the topic of wellness planning, and they're with us today to share the Workplace Wellness Planning Implementation Guide. You can learn a bit more about their work on the CASS website at www.cass.ab.ca, and you can find the resources that they're going to be talking about today that I believe have been shared by email and maybe in the chat this morning. You can find those on the CASS Professional Learning website, cassalberta.ca. So without further ado, I turn the microphone. I'm going back on mute. I'll ask everyone else just to make sure you mute your microphones as well, please. And I'm going to mute mine and turn it over to Jim and Brian. Gentlemen.
Thanks so much, Sandy. Just a quick thumbs up if you can hear me okay. Just double checking. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Sandy. Thanks as well. My thanks to Jim, Val, and Claudine for all your help. Welcome to this session on behalf of my colleague Jim McClellan and I to the Workplace Wellness Planning and Implementation Guide Reveal Party. When you signed up, I'm not so sure that you understood that you were coming to a party today, but as far as we are concerned, you are. This is the third of 4 CASS online learning opportunities, and the first 2 opportunities focused on CASS leadership excellence based on personal stories of practice. We would like to commend all of you for your outstanding commitment to the children and youth of Alberta and your staff as well, especially considering COVID-19, re-entry conversations, budget challenges, and assurance planning. It's been very hard. The fear of the unknown is only understandable. COVID and Zoom fatigue are very real. And so we certainly have a couple of things that we're going to do today to shake things up a little bit, we hope, and keep you engaged. Thank you for your work each day. You care deeply for staff, students, and community. It's important to care for the caregivers. You tend to be cared for after everyone else. The Avalanche study, which has not been completely released yet, makes it very clear that the general public don't really care that much about leadership well-being. They care more about the triad between parents, teachers, and students. So if we don't take care of ourselves and we don't take care of each other, no one else will. You can only do your best across all the competencies in the SLQS if your well-being is taken care of too. This is why you see all 6 competencies checked off in this slide. And CASS believes so strongly in wellness as a priority that the Board of Directors has included the new wellness logo in its branding. Now, you'll find a menu at the bottom of your screen, and in that menu, it indicates a chat box. I'd encourage you just to click on that and to quickly introduce yourselves in the chat box, just with your name, organization, and where you live for now. So go ahead and say hello. You'll notice as well that the PDF of the slide presentation is available for you to download in that chat line as well. Thanks to Claudine for that. So go ahead, and I'm going to do the same, and maybe your community as well, if you can think of it. So name, organization, role, and community. So again, good morning, everyone. And in recognition of some difficult times, I'm also going to encourage you to spurge a couple of emotion words around how it's going for you lately. And yes, smurge is a Brian word. I don't think you'll find that in the dictionary. and it's a combination of smash and merge. So my word is nerve-sighted. I'm nervous for the presentation in terms of hoping that it will go well, and I'm really excited to share the guide, which I hope will assist you in your planning going forward. So if you can think of a couple things, of course, the chat is always optional. Go ahead. Brian is nerve-sighted. We are thrilled that you've made some time to become more aware of the curriculum, or the culmination, sorry, of nearly 2 years of work on behalf of CASS. And this has included many conversations with many of you. So let's get started. We have 3 basic parts this morning, some background, and then that will be recorded. So we are being recorded right now. And then a chance for you to talk about the guide and its use in some chat room work. And that will not be recorded. And then we'd really like to debrief what everyone has talked about. And that will be recorded as well. So we're hoping for a time limit of about 90 minutes or so. We're going to do everything we can at our end to stay within that. And if we can get you out at 75 minutes for good behavior, I don't think anyone will complain. So really, that's what we're planning. So what are we hoping for you? Well, we have 3 outcomes in mind at a minimum. One is the understanding of the guide and its intended use, and just a chance to practice a little bit. In 75 or 90 minutes, certainly there isn't time for you to dive into detail in all 5 of the conditions. But we hope that you'll get a chance to see and talk about one of them in a little bit more detail. And then through the debrief, get to know the other 4 conditions in the framework just a little bit better. So really, this work is, you'll see a poll will come up. The poll is always optional. They are anonymous, so your name should not be attached to these in any way. Again, it's just a chance for us to keep you engaged in just some very informal questions going forward. Go ahead and answer those if you are so inclined. So I'd like to offer a few summary points about the interviews we conducted with you during 2019. And I'm only going to hit very broad highlights. The full report is in the webpage that Sandy referred to. And again, you'll see the URL at the bottom of the page. If you're interested in more detail, I'd encourage you to have a look at that report. And so the interviews, of course, are completed, and that report is ready to go. So some of the things that you told us, so a few key trends. There are many definitions of wellness and well-being and health, and you've indicated that this is a problem for you. You asked us to define health, wellness, well-being, and other key terms, and we have done that in the guide. The use of data to drive decisions is both a common practice and a challenge for you. AC taught us, those of you who remember AC, certainly measurement seems to be the most difficult part of any project. You asked for proposed roles and supports from CASS. That part of the report will guide our work over the next year. And one of those key things was, of course, the guide that we're releasing today. We also clearly learned that planning and implementation of student-focused wellness activities and efforts is at a more mature stage than that of staff and workplace wellness planning. Thus, the importance of the guide release today. In addition to the actions as described in this report, there's some trend data to suggest that CASS could consider creating a workplace wellness framework, and that we've done, and releasing it today. Creating a resource library and a professional learning module with information found in this report, and that aligns with the workplace wellness framework and the implementation plan template that we will be working on as well. And creating an implementation and planning guide that supports the school authorities' awareness and understanding as they develop their workplace wellness plans. And of course, that's what today is about. So we're releasing the interview report and the workplace wellness guide and they're posted on the CASS website. And you'll have a chance to dig into these a little bit today. So the key part of the planning and implementation guide are the 5 conditions with which our work is, our research pointed us towards and is planned on. Although the conditions are numbered in the guide for easy reference, you'll see that in this graphic, they are not numbered. And that's the difference between a framework and a model. In a model, generally, you move from condition 1 to 5. In a framework, we're suggesting that you start where you already have some wins, where you already have some strengths. You work through the order of the conditions in any manner that your context would suggest. The main point here, though, is that our research led us to take a comprehensive and integrated systems-based approach. Unfortunately, there is not a simple or silver bullet quick fix answer to workplace wellness. So if you're here today to find something easy that's going to solve all of your problems, I'm afraid we're going to disappoint you. This framework looked at the most common conditions of a number of wellness-related frameworks from across the country. While programs can work together to support workplace wellness, no one program, no one binder can cover the range of conditions that will lead to sustainable and scalable continuous improvement in workplace wellness environments. And it's particularly that sustainable and scalable that we're interested in, leaving a legacy after the champions are gone. So why workplace wellness and why now? You'll find much of the information you asked for in our interviews in what we refer to as the front matter of the guide, which is pages 1 to 5. We've already heard that this is maybe too long for some of you. On the other hand, a little bit of background and context is important. An example of this is how we define wellness and well-being, and we further indicated that in a glossary as well. For the most part, our definitions do align with Alberta Health Services and the Alberta School Employee Benefit Plan. And so we felt that it was important that these 3 groups, including CASS, be as on the same page as much as possible. And we'd like to thank them for their work in helping us get to this stage today. We're very pleased to have been able to interview 59 public, separate, Francophone, and First Nations school authorities. We're also really pleased that we didn't have to break down hardly any superintendent doors while we were on our tours visiting with you. In almost each case, superintendents gladly attended the conversation, regardless of your insane schedules and priorities. We are pleasantly surprised that we didn't have to spend really any time at all convincing you why wellness should be a priority with CASS and with school authorities. This graphic found on page 2 of the front matter is a reality you live each day. No explanation is required. So how did we get to the 5 conditions that you'll find in the shaded box on the right-hand side of the graphic? So that's the workplace wellness framework that we're advocating for today. You'll see 5 other wellness-related frameworks from across the country in the other 4 columns. I'm not sure, depending on the size of your screen, how easy this is to read. So if that's the case, focus on the colors. And let's just use the red as an example. Condition 2 on the far right-hand side, vision, leadership, and commitment. You'll see that we smurged those 3 terms into one condition. And you'll see, if you can read the writing, that different frameworks, wellness frameworks from across the country, dealt with that condition in slightly different ways. However, it's definitely a theme. Vision, leadership, and commitment seem to be a priority for sustainable and scalable wellness right across this country. So in the end, we kind of consolidated the conditions into 5 conditions. We wanted a reasonable number and yet be true to the research. So finally, for me, there is a document that will be released soon called Beyond the Binder. And what is Beyond the Binder? It's a framework that's grounded in discussions that took place at 2 national roundtable events, one of which Jim and I had the privilege to participate in. The paper, when it is released, will outline why and how K-12 system leaders and their partners must move beyond one-off interventions, programs, and professional development towards an approach where mental health and well-being is integrated in the core mandate of public education. So we've had a look at that research as well carefully. Their priorities in terms of a national agenda are a little bit different than the Alberta context, but you'll see that much of that aligns very well. So with that, my turn is kind of coming to an end, and I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Jim McClellan, Director of Learning, colleague, to introduce our guests from the University of Alberta.
Thank you, Brian, and good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to bring you a view of something other than the 4 walls of my office. We are looking down the Sheep River Valley, straight west, up to the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains. We're about a half hour west of Okotoks, 3 kilometers west of the Sandy McNabb campground. And no, that is not a virtual background. That is real. I'm sure you can tell by the audio, and I hope that's working out okay. It's my pleasure today to introduce you to Jenny Mural from the University of Alberta School of Public Health. And in conjunction with Chinook's Edge, the U of A put together a video clip around the Beyond the Binder project. And very excited to have a look at that video and show that video to you this afternoon. Jenny, it's all yours. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Can you see me? Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Jim, for that introduction and that beautiful background. That looked lovely. Dr. Kate Story is also on the line as well. And I've been basically supporting her. Together, we've been working on a project that has been looking at stories of change. So case studies on the prioritization of wellness in K-12 education. And this is really a partner project to the work that Jim and Brian have been doing and really integrated with the Beyond the Binder work. We're doing 6 case studies, 3 in Alberta and 3 in British Columbia. And we're really looking at how and why school authorities in these provinces are able to shift their school community culture to one that promotes wellness. And it's been a real pleasure to work with the school authorities that we've been working with. And I think that this links really nicely to the Beyond the Binder work and really highlights the idea that we're looking to understand and to share different stories of success and different paths. So there's lots of different ways to get there. And this video that you're going to see is one of the products that we're going to be producing as part of the research project. So we're hoping to have 6 videos, potentially more by the end of this, showcasing those different school authorities and what their paths to wellness have looked like. So please enjoy the Chinook's Edge video, and happy to answer any questions or follow up later. Please contact me if you have any questions. Thanks very much.
Let's get settled into our mindful bodies. It is a powerful tool, and I have seen a lot of subtle transformations in my students because of mindfulness. And for 30 more seconds, I want you to think about your breath on your own. They come in, they get settled, we do our mindfulness practice, and it's just a chance for all of us to collectively breathe together and get refocused. And it's a time that a lot of them really look forward to, and I know it's a time that I look forward to as well. I started my mindfulness practice because of, I guess what I call a professional burnout. Grade 1, eyes on me. Because of my daily mindfulness practice, I was able to get into a space where I felt like I'd taken part of my life back, if that makes sense. Breathing in, breathing out. It's been just amazing the support we've had from our division leaders and how they've really showed us with their actions that staff wellness is important and it is something that we are committed to working on.
Individual development, these are your two areas. Self-awareness, self-management. These ones come first.
When you have happier adults, they do better work, they interact better with students, the students are happier. We're absolutely committed to that. I was convinced before we started it, we over-communicate with email. There's an understanding from board members to central office folks to school leaders to teachers that we're only going to send emails between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. It's really had a more powerful effect on the well-being of our people. And then they've got more energy to bring to children and youth, which is our ultimate goal.
And you'll see that there's been some changes. We've changed it from social emotional learning to social emotional well-being, because they go together.
For example, last year in early April, I lost my son he's 27 years old, passed away. And I said openly to the admin group, this is bigger than me, to handle it. And so I'm going to contact Homewood Health, which we promote with all of our staff. And I just shared that without getting into the specifics, but to let them know it's okay. You can call Homewood Health. I still have a job, so you probably will too.
Even with the increase of the cell phone and the technology and the always connected, our communication has not improved. It's gotten worse. I went through some episodes where I was really pushing my staff in certain schools that I was a part of, where I think I was pushing them to the bleeding edge a little bit of technology and trying to get them, involved, and we need to do it this way. This is going to make life better.
We've been talking a little bit about trying to make sure that we're engaging socially. So I noticed that it didn't take you very long to actually see me down the hallway at that point in time.
Just that idea of, presence type thing. We talk about being present and just, the simple communication, having a conversation with you. And as soon as I put this phone in my hand right now, it just changes this relationship.
It really took your focus off of what class was about. It makes it easier to actually do your homework because you know what's going on in class and stuff like that. Then you communicate with everybody a lot better. And my grades are way higher than I thought they could be. And it's just a lot better not having that core distraction.
I think, for the staff especially, they love the idea of, having that disconnection. They appreciate the fact that the organization is recognizing the importance in family. They're recognizing the importance around and that work-life balance.
So it's those little things that have convinced me of the importance of it. And it's just so wonderful to see those effects. It's really cool.
For me, the weekdays till 6 just got me to that point where I realized I really, truly have to disconnect.
It's helping right across the province.
Okay, thanks very much. I'd just like to apologize to the U of A folks. Kate, I didn't know Kate was going to be a part of this presentation, so I didn't include her in the opening on the video clip, so my apologies. It's great to have you here, Kate. And Jenny, thank you for the introduction. That's a great video. I can't wait to see the next 5 of those. Pretty amazing stuff for sure. And as I look at that video, I certainly get some kind of a feeling of the importance of leadership. I mean, Kurt Satcher, I know Kurt well, and how would you like to work for that guy? I mean, there's just such a welcome feeling, and that certainly comes across in that video clip. So thanks to everyone who participated in the development of that video. Certainly is going to be used well across the province, I'm sure. So just looking at the guide, and this little slide is to demonstrate how to use the guide. And it starts off with all of the conditions, and Brian has spoken quite well about how the conditions were developed. And I just want to reiterate a couple of Brian's comments, and the working together document was such an important guide for us as we built our guide. And so just wanted to mention that again. And also our 2 advisory committees. So we have our CASS Wellness Advisory Committee and the CASS Well Ahead Advisory Committee. And Well Ahead, of course, has at its front Paul and Vonnie from McConnell and Well Ahead. And I think Paul is on with us today. So their leadership and support and guidance in the development of our guide was really important to us and to the result that we have here today. Just looking at the guide, it starts off with the condition, and then we've established 2 indicators to represent each condition. And along with each of those indicators, then a little bit of a self-assessment, and you can see that on the right side. So that self-assessment will establish some strengths, challenges, gaps that you might have in your process with respect to each of those indicators. So it's a good way to start. And I'll just flip to the next screen for a second here. This is a little, as part of the appendix in the guide, it's Appendix 2, as you can see. And this is a self-assessment tool. So one of many self-assessment tools, audits, if you like, that you will have as a part of the guide that will allow you to determine where you're at with respect to your wellness needs in your own specific context. So this is kind of a cool little slide that can be very useful in determining your plans going forward. So once you've established what your current state is, Brian and I and Val have pulled together various practices to consider, and we've pulled those from our conversations with school superintendents and wellness leads and school authorities across the province, and pulled them from our research and a variety of other places. So we've just kind of put 1 or 2 or 3 practices to consider just to give you a start. And we know that you'll come up with all kinds of practices that will support your planning process as you go forward. Then there is a piece of each condition that is called our plans, and this will allow you to start your planning process. So it's a bit of a strategic planning organizer, if you like, and that will allow you to develop your plans. We have a PDF online that is fillable, so you can actually use this document to build your plans if you like, and I'm sure that many of you will have your own documents that you will use, but this guide is completely fillable so that you can do the work right on your screen with this guide if you so choose. And finally, I'd just like to talk briefly about the resources. Brian and I and Val have selected a variety of resources that we think you could go to help build your workplace wellness plans as you go forward. So there are lots of resources, and we've only put a few that we think are valuable to each of you as you go forward, but I'm sure there are lots of resources that you have and that will use in your planning process. So the next activity, we're going to move into our breakout rooms, and we'll have a moderator, and your breakout rooms have been assigned to you by Claudine. Thank you, Claudine, for your help with that. So we'll have the moderator, and that is the person whose birthday is closest, but prior to today's date. And then there'll be a recorder, and that's the person whose birthday is closest, but after today's date.